Now, what I want to do now is I want to talk about the ways in which we can build environments which are adaptive and which allow a degree of flexibility, but which are not at the expense of the social. And I'm going to give you some examples of that from Scholar, and particularly the way in which we build curriculum units called learning modules in Scholar. I'm going to talk about this point that computer-mediated learning, and specifically learning which is adaptive and personalised, need not be at the expense of community, of social connections. And what I'm going to do is show you a hybrid kind of curriculum artifact that we've been building and available in this space called Bookstore, and we call this thing a learning module. So we've got a number of learning modules for K-12, we've got some higher education learning modules, and if you go onto the next screen, there's even more. So I'm going to take you into two examples of these. The first one is an example for the school level, and what it is, it's a learning module that aligns with the American Common Core standards, the US Common Core standards for information texts, and in which the students are going to write an information text, which is in this case a biography. So when I go into this Scholar web work here, I've got it already open here in a new tab, we've got it laid out in this kind of a format, a two-column format, where on the left we have text which will be delivered to the student, and on the right we've got kind of talking professional teacher talk to the teacher. So this, if you like, is teacher to student talk, classroom talk. This is teacher-to-teacher talk, professional education talk, in which we might, for example, highlight the connections with the curriculum standards. We might talk about the underlying objectives. We might talk about some of the techniques that are used to deliver this content. So here we've got a chunk of content here which includes, can include media. We're starting with the students to talk about this question of writing biographies of people who may well have started off being ordinary people but became extraordinary. And over here we have this button, post left side content to a community, and what I then do is I then select a community amongst my communities, and when I press continue, this content on the left gets pushed into the students' activity stream. And in fact, when it's pushed into the student's activity stream, it can still be edited by the person pushing it, the teacher, but nevertheless, what I've done is I've kind of pre-scripted something that we're going to talk about with the students. And see here it ends with a comment, so it's kind of dialogical, if you like. It's something which doesn't just tell what historically textbooks did, is they told, but this is something which asks and which prompts discussion in the activity stream in community. So we're going to go on and talk about making a difference. We're going to perhaps look at some videos. We're going to see some examples, links there to CNN heroes in various years, and we're going to get the students to talk about that. We might start talking about what are the qualities of an extraordinary person, and what we might even do is have a Word document that we deliver, which is an inferring chart, where the students can think about the qualities of extraordinary people. There are some more examples of things that are linked to on the web, and here again we can post this chunk of content over whenever we're ready to, and this is the teacher again talking about which bits of the Common Core standards this particular resource relates to. We also have in here in Scholar another artifact called a survey, right? So what we have here is we have a text about Harriet Tubman. We don't need to put the text in because we can link to it on the web. And what we can do is when we go preview a survey, here we might have some questions about this text which the instructional designer or the teacher has created. And this, if you like, it's like a conventional item-based test, if you like. So we can do that as well. But again, it's eliciting an active response on the part of the teacher. So far we have two types of objects that were interactive objects. We have a chunk of content that we can post into the activity stream in the community, and in fact into every learner's activity stream at the same time. And we have a survey, and when we distribute the survey, it posts a link into the activity stream, and the students take that survey there, and that produces assessment data. But now we're going to start a project. This is the third kind of artifact in a learning module. So this is the project description, and this then is the rubric over here on the right. So this is for the teacher, and this is the rubric that all the students are going to get, which has been pre-designed. Of course, when it's delivered, it can be edited, so it's not that we have to stick with exactly this rubric, but this rubric aligns the Common Core standards for information text with the particular issues of writing a biography. And what happens here is when we start a project, what we do is we set there's a wizard that comes up in the publisher area where we set a series of parameters. For example, what are the deadlines, when are things due, how many reviewers are there going to be, are they going to be anonymous or named, and 10 minutes later we can set the project going. Now, while the project's going, we might have the students doing researching and inferring their famous person. Here's some information about how to do that. We might get them to investigate internet sources and citing references. Let's post this chunk of content to the community, but maybe we might skip that. Maybe we don't necessarily need to do that. We might have another survey, which is another item-based thing where we talk about the feature. We ask about the textual features that Harriet Tubman text again. And then what we might have is another thing about analysing the text, transition words, and so on. It's a full unit of work where finally we publish and reflect on the work. So if you like, what we've done here on this side is we have scripted a set of conversations with students. But let me just highlight a number of things which are different about this. Firstly, from the traditional textbook. The traditional textbook summarised the world in the singular voice of one author. What we do is we curate the world. We link to things, all sorts of original sources, but most importantly, we don't tell. We build dialogue of various kinds. So all of those forms of interaction, the update, the survey, and the project are about building dialogue between the students. But most importantly, all of these things happening in this technology-mediated environment, they're not about the student being alone with their machine. They're about the student interacting, relating in a very, very social kind of way. It's adaptive in the sense that students can express themselves, they can be themselves. It doesn't have to be totally synchronous. You can, submit when you submit and do the review later, and you can actually go and you can discover that people who started talking about something a week ago, you can add a comment to what they were talking about a week ago. So in other words, there are all those possibilities of being less synchronous than a face-to-face classroom as well. So we're trying to incorporate all the benefits of adaptive and personalised learning, while at the same time having a space which is intensely social.